Thank you, Sarah. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar. My name is Trent Patterson. I am an application engineer here at Sigmatek. Today, we're going to be going over conditional tabbing. So, kind of a brief overview of what conditional tabbing is. We have the benefits of selective tabbing. We have the results with conditional tabbing, setting up conditional tabbing, and conditional tabbing and other tab types. So with this, benefits is just going to be the choosing of which parts you want to tab. Results are we're going to go more into Sigmatek and kind of show examples and different things like that. Settings, we're going to show how this can be added into your post. With this, you can either call into our support and you can have one of our post engineers add this in, or with the kind of description and explanation that I'm going to provide to you, you should be able to adjust this in your post. And then we also have the different tab types, so how it's going to react with other tab types. You can have different tab types with conditional tabbing. And we'll kind of go more into Sigmatek and show that off as well. So some of the benefits of selective tabbing, you can avoid grinding while still minimizing tip-ups. So a lot of machines can use, conditional tabbing and to avoid grinding. So with laser, plasmas, router, and oxyfuel, this can help reduce grinding a finished product that maybe you need to present to a customer for like a laser or plasma. We also have control tabbing. This is going to be based on part length. So this is going to be used tabbing based on length to be conditioned on when the part gets tabbed or not. So unlike center of gravity tabbing, which basically just looks at the machine slats, this is going to take into consideration your X and Y and then the part length rather than just a general overall area. We have this also considers the nest orientation. So we're basically going to look at how the parts are laid out on the nest, and then we can dictate what parts are going to get tabbed based on either the length or which direction that those parts are coming out to be. We can also separate settings for the X and Y direction. So like I said, we'll kind of go over that in a little bit later on, but we can dictate what the length and width, or the length is going to be in the X and the Y direction based on the slats. So conditional tabbing results. So typically how a lot of our tabbing does now is based on area, but with conditional tabbing, this is going to be more focused on length. And also part orientation. So like I said, this is going to have more advantages over center of gravity since you do have more adjustability by controlling the X and the Y and then not just on the slat direction. So for setting up conditional tabbing, this is going to be controlled to the post. You have line 318. So this is going to be direction, X maximum and X or Y maximum. So for conditional tabbing, as you can kind of see in the bottom picture here, we'll kind of go over it a little bit. We have either you can enable it or disable it, so that's 0 or 1. We can do the different grid directions, so you have horizontal, vertical, horizontal or vertical, and then horizontal and vertical. So that's basically just going to say what type of conditional tabbing do you want your parts to be looking in. Do you want it to be looking in a horizontal, vertical, either or both. And then all contours smaller than this X will be tabbed. So for how it has up here, you have millimeters and then inches. So for this, we would have 15 inches in the X direction and then 6 inches in the Y direction. So just kind of going into that a little bit more, we'll just kind of take a look at this inside of Sigmatek. So as you can see here, we do have some parts nested. For this, I'm going to go ahead and auto and see. Right now, I do have turned on horizontal and vertical. So as you can see, we're just going to do a number. I'm going to do a very large tab size just so we can get a general idea of what tabs we're looking at. Based upon what we're looking at, I have an X and a Y of maximum 15 inches. And then I have turned on the horizontal and vertical. So based on that, we should only see tabs on every part other than this part right here that I'm on. So as you can see here, basically everything horizontal and vertical that are under 15 inches is going to get that tab. Now, like I said, what we can do here is we can go into our post. So I'm going to go ahead and set our tabbing grid direction to a horizontal. For this, anytime that you make a change, you want to make sure that you reload the configuration, so they load your post. That's just going to give us the ability to make sure that everything is up to date, and it's going to take these settings that we'd like. So from here, we're going to clear our tabbing or auto NC. I'm going to go ahead and reapply. So as you can see now, anything that in the vertical direction that has a 15 inches or longer is not going to be tabbed. So we can see these parts here are not going to be tabbed, where these vertical parts are not going to be tabbed, where these horizontal parts are going to be tabbed. Now, while going through this as well, we can use different tabs while using our conditional tabbing. So we have different options like recess tab, micro tabbing, or micro weld. So basically any different type of tab type, lead out types, corners, basically anything like that. We can use them with conditional tabbing as well as center of gravity tabbing. So we'll just kind of look at some examples here. So from this, I'm going to go ahead and still do a number tab. So here I'm going to go ahead and do a recess tab. We're going to do a 1 inch, and then depth, we're going to do a 0.125. So we're just going to go ahead and apply that. So like I said, we still have on our vertical, so none of these are going to get tabbed, but if we zoom in here, we can see that this is going to add that recess tab. Now with these recess tabs, the benefit of these is typically you're already going to be welding or adding weld into these little kind of cutouts. So it's able to get more of a clean finish without having to do any grinding or anything like that. And then it's also going to allow you to have a place to where you can put that weld in and build that part up anyways. So that's just kind of a benefit of that conditional and the recessed. Now, like I said, we can also do different tabs like lead outs, different things like that. So if we go ahead and apply this, we should now see every part at the lead out will have that tab. Like I said, these are very large, but I wanted to make sure that you all were able to see what all parts were getting tabbed without really having to zoom into all of them. Now, one thing that we can do with conditional tabbing as well is going to be our use center of gravity. So what center of gravity is going to allow it to do is be able to look at these slats and then dictate whether or not this part actually needs a tab or not. So as you can see here, this one, we typically saw a tab right around in here, but now that we're using center of gravity, it's saying that this part goes along so many slats that it's not going to have the likelihood of a tip up. We will see here that a lot of our smaller parts are going to get tabs, or parts that only fall across one slat are typically going to get your tabs, but usually anything that is on 2 or more slats is not going to receive a tab. Now this is also looking at your vertical parts too, and it's still applying the conditional tab feature. So it's saying that this is not going to be applied. So that is one thing to take into consideration. Make sure that if you're using center of gravity tabbing, that you do have your conditional tabbing parameters set up correctly as well. Now with conditional tabbing as well, we do also have the option to do the tab removal. So with this, if we go into our auto NC and we're looking at our tab definition, we do have the ability to do remove tabs. So removal method, I'm just going to use normal. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So with this, you can kind of see that we do have a few extra rapid lines. So we'll just go ahead and take a look at that. So as you can kind of see here, we are cutting around the part. Let me go ahead and zoom in here for you. So we're going to be cutting around the part. It's going to leave its tab, and then it's going to come back through and cut through that tab. And then basically same thing. It's going to finish its part out. It's going to cut through the tabs and finish that. So like I said, conditional tabbing does have a lot of benefit just to make sure that you're not going to risk the chance of tip up. You're going to make sure that all of your parts that you want to have tabs are going to have tabs. You're essentially just adding conditions into Sigmatek saying these are the parameters that I want based on length and width, or length, and not going to be based on area. You can use it with various other tabbing methods, kind of like we were going over. So you have the part removal or the tab removal, you have the recess tabbing, you have the different tab types, you have the center of gravity tabbing. So it is one of those things that definitely can be beneficial for you. With center of gravity as well, you want to make sure that you do have a machine bed drawing just so it knows where the slats are exactly, to make sure that it can look at the slats and know where tabs actually need to go as well whenever you're combining the two. So other than that, that's really all I have for you today. So thank you all for attending the webinar on conditional tabbing. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. If you're interested in getting this actually activated into your post, please feel free to call or email into support so we can get this activated for you. If not, like I said, you can refer back to my slides. Basically, if it's already inside of your post, you can kind of play with it there, turn it on and off, and you can try the different directions if you would like. But other than that, if you want to give us a call into our support, we'd be more than happy to get this added for you so you can test this great feature. But other than that, I will leave it off here for a few questions. If you don't have any questions, I hope you all enjoy your day and have a good rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Trent, for that lovely webinar. So while we wait on the final questions to come through here, I would just like to thank you all for joining us today and to talk to you about the next webinars we have coming up. We've actually recently set our fall and, I'm sorry, not our fall, our March and April schedules. So we have for the 10th of March, we have intro to time calculations. For the for 324, we have clamp and safety zones. For 414, we have basic report edits. And for 428, we have BHQ. So all of those webinars will be hosted on a Wednesday at 1 p.m. like always. And you can find recordings of our past webinars on the connect.sigmatek website, available for you to watch and review for yourself if you've missed past webinars that you would like to see again. But if you would like to go ahead and join for our future webinars, you can feel free to do so by registering on the Sigmatek website. And it looks like we don't have any additional questions at this time. So I would like to thank you all for coming out, and we hope, oh, it looks like a few just popped in. Well, while Trent is finishing up those, I'd like to thank you all for coming out. And if you have any more questions at this time, please feel free to enter them into the questions box. And we hope to see you soon for the webinar on Intro to Time Calculations on 310.